Hello there, Game of Thrones fans, and welcome to the final episode in our Season 7 review series. This is going to be my complete review, which will basically be summing up my entire thoughts about the season, my sort of thoughts about the character development, the events that have taken place, maybe some predictions for Season 8 as well, and also, just comparisons basically to last year's season, and also just my overall conclusion and rating for this series, for this season, for Season 7. So, without further ado, I just want to issue a quick spoiler alert. Obviously, you haven't watched Season 7, don't watch this video, if you do watch this video and you haven't seen Season 7, don't complain to me because I've spoiled it for you. It's your fault for watching it. So yeah, just hope you really enjoyed this review, and yeah, let's get started. So as I said, we're going to be looking at different parts throughout this sort of, we've got different things, I've got different subheadings to look at throughout this review, and then we're going to be reviewing the whole of Season 7. So the first thing we're going to look at is my top 5 events of Season 7. So at number 5 then, we have the Battle of the Silence versus Yara's ships in Episode 2, Stormborn. I apologise if you see me looking down there, I've got my notes down there, so that's why I'm looking at it. So it was a fantastic battle sequence, the Battle of the Silence. It was very unexpected actually on my part. I didn't sort of expect it, and it suddenly happened. I was like, oh, we've got a battle, and it's Episode 2, and I was a little bit shocked by that. But it wasn't always great, and not every part of it was great because it was filmed in the dark, and it felt as though they were trying to save the budget a bit, and it was almost like, oh, we must hold back on this, despite having a higher budget again this season. They sort of felt like they were trying to reserve it for later on in the season, which I sort of feel like they did, but they also didn't at the same time. So, it was a weird one this season, I think, but in terms of budgeting. They've done it, either they're trying to save up for next year for Season 8 to make it massive, or they've just sort of been a bit reserved with money. I mean, maybe it cost more to make than I imagined, but it just didn't feel like it took as much money as some of the other battles in the series prior to this. Now at number 4 then, we have Arya killing the Freys disguised as Walder Frey, and that was back in Episode 1 called Dragonstone. Now it was a fantastic reveal, obviously, of Arya taking off Walder Frey's face, and suddenly it was Arya, and it was a great comeuppance for the Freys because obviously they were responsible for the Red Wedding at the end of Season 3, Episode 9. It's not quite the end of it, but Season 3, Episode 9, the Reigns of Castamere. So it was almost like a really good comeuppance that the Freys finally got what was coming to them, and the fact that it was a Stark who killed them all was just even more satisfaction. I really enjoyed that scene and that event. So at number 3 then, we have the Battle Beyond the Wall and the death/reanimation of Viserion in Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. Now it was amazing just to see the battle between the living and the dead for the first sort of time since Hardhome, and that was obviously all back in Season 5, Episode 8, called Hardhome. We hadn't really seen it on this sort of scale before, where it was like 6 people or 7 people against thousands, and then obviously Daenerys rode in on her dragons, and then it was sort of monsters versus the monsters, it was sort of the dragons versus the White Walkers. Viserion's death obviously was quite a massive part of this season, and his reanimation was exciting but also quite scary at the same time, because obviously it means that the Night King has a dragon in his possession, which is a little bit weird, it's a little bit strange, it's a little bit whatever, and it means that we have obviously, while they have a bigger problem to contend with now than just the White Walkers, just the Army of the Dead, they now have a dead dragon to fight, which is going to be quite interesting to see where they go with that, because if it comes to it that Daenerys can only kill the reanimated Viserion with either Drogon or Rhaegal, will she do that, or will she leave him because it's one of her children, and will she kill him or will she not? It's going to be an interesting decision to see where they go with that. Now my number 2 spot on this top of 5 events of the season is the Battle on the Rose Road in Episode 4, The Spoils of War. Now the battle sequence was incredible, and I've got nothing against the battle sequence, whatsoever. In fact, Drogon's fire made, I think, everything 10 times better, because it was just brilliant to see that, and burning people, and you had Bronn with the scorpion firing at Drogon. You had Jaime running at Drogon, was fantastic. You had, it was tense, it was unexpected, it was everything that was just so great about this program rolled into one sort of 10, 15 minute battle sequence. It was perfect. But there's one event that was much better, in my opinion, which just sort of really crept into my first place, and I wasn't quite. That was until the final episode. That was the best episode. That was the best event of the season. Apart from this event that happened in episode 7, the Dragon and the Wolf, the Night King destroying Eastwatch by the sea, and part of the wall, is my number 1 position on this list. And the only thing I'm going to say about this is, wow. That's it. That's all I can think of to say about this. It's mind-blowingly good how the visual effects just blew me away. It was so good, it seemed so real, and it made me realise that Westeros is screwed. That's it. There's nothing else to say about that. That's my number 1 event of the season, is the Night King destroying Eastwatch by the sea and part of the wall. So now we're going to look at my top 5 character developments. Now, in this part, I'm just talking about things that are making a difference to the character, or changing the storyline of the character, or, just some way tweaking the character a little bit from what we've seen in the past. Now, I've tried to do it so that each of the 5 things are different characters, and I've actually managed to do that. But the top 2 are from the same episode, but I won't tell you what they are until we get there. But yeah, that's sort of what I've tried to do. So my number 5 position on the top 5 character developments is the Hound's prophecy in the fire and his realisation of his past mistakes in episode 1, Dragonstone. Now, obviously this led to the burial of the man and his daughter, who were killed back in season 4 by the Hound. It was a touching change, and it made me view him differently. I think I sort of saw him with a bit more compassion. I had a lot more respect for him now than I did sort of in past seasons, when he's just been a little bit of a mean person. I've got a greater respect for him now, and obviously that was just quite a nice little way to open the season, and was actually probably one of the best moments of the season premiere, was that the Hound's prophecy and his change in character. At number 4 then on this list, we have Arya's confrontation with Nymeria and other wolves in episode 2, Stormborn. Now, this for me was quite a good character development moment, but it wasn't amazing, but it was obviously it was good enough to be on my 4th place of this list, because it made Arya realise that she needs to be with her pack, the Starks, basically, because the Arya realised that Nymeria doesn't want to come with her because Nymeria wants to be with her own kind, whereas Arya has sort of been a bit lost throughout the last sort of 4 or 5 seasons, and she's only really found sort of refuge and home with the faceless men, obviously, throughout season 5 and 6, and obviously she became no one, and that's why she can change her face. But it's really that scene made her realise how much she's changed, I think, over the course of the series. That whereas Nymeria and her would be inseparable, they're inseparable in the first couple of episodes, and then they just haven't been, and she realises that she needs to be back with her family, as Nymeria is with sort of the people or the wolves that are like her. So yeah, I thought that was really good. My number 3 spot on this list then is Daenerys' speech to Jon at their first meeting in episode 3, The Queen's Justice. Now this speech, I can't actually remember everything that was said, but I remember being completely my confidence was restored in Daenerys, because she'd had a couple of episodes where she'd been she hadn't really had a lot going on, and things sort of started to go a bit wrong for her. And I was sort of rooting for her once again after that speech that she gave, and that's really all I can think of to say about this bit. I just really enjoyed that speech, and I thought it was a really good speech, and I thought Emilia Clarke delivered it fantastically. The writing was just superb in that scene. In fact, I think that episode for me might have been one of the best written episodes of the season, and I think that might have been Brian Cogman writing that episode, possibly. I can't remember now, but that episode I remember being quite good, because you also had Elena's death in that, and Elena's final conversation with Jaime was fantastic in that episode, and also you had Tyene being poisoned by Lena Headey by Cersei Lannister, and that was a fantastic scene as well. It was well written. So actually, whoever wrote that episode, whether it was Benioff and Weiss or Brian Cogman, I can't remember, but whoever wrote that episode was a fantastic writer, and they really did that episode justice. Talking, it's quite ironic because the Queen's Justice. Anyway, my number 2 spot on this list then, so this is where we get the same episodes. Number 2 on this list is Sansa deciding to put Peter Baelish on trial from episode 7, The Dragon and the Wolf. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but this was such an unexpected twist in the plot, and I didn't actually see it coming, but I think it's made us all realise that she's now in control of her own life. She's learned her lessons from others. She's learned her lessons from Peter Baelish, she's learned her lessons from Cersei, she's learned her lessons from Ramsay, from Joffrey, and really she's now come into her own much more than she did last season. I was so impressed with her last season, but this season you've seen Sansa go from strength to strength to strength, and it was amazing to see that. It was amazing to see Sansa, I keep saying her Cersei, Sansa, putting Peter Baelish on trial, ordering his death, and Arya killing him. It was just the perfect end to his life. It couldn't have been any more perfect than what happened. Now, my number 1 on this list is probably quite obvious by now, if I've said it's from The Dragon and the Wolf episode 7, and it is Jaime leaving Cersei. Now, I absolutely love this scene. I thought it was fantastically acted, it was fantastically written, because it gave us something unexpected. It was very unexpected. At least it was unexpected at the beginning of the series. So back in season 1, if you've watched it through the whole thing, if you've watched it from the beginning, like most of us probably have, it becomes very unexpected. You wouldn't think that by the end of season 7, Jaime and Cersei, who are screwing each other, who have just fallen apart, and this last season and this one really showed the fray between the siblings. It's really shown the rivalry and the differences between them, where Jaime's a bit more honourable, he's a bit more, he understands the way the world works in terms of armed military and everything else, whereas she is more political and more manipulative, and that's what I really liked about this. I thought it was a fantastic scene, and I really, really enjoyed it, and it was my top character development moment of Jaime leaving Cersei and becoming more independent and becoming his own person for once, other than just sort of Cersei's puppet. So now we come to the part of the review where I have to talk about my least favourite episode. Now, this was quite a difficult one last year because all of the season 6 ones were really, really good. And I struggled to find my top sort of 3 least favourite episodes, but this year I just did one because it's a shorter season, so I thought I'd just do one least favourite episode. And this year actually I was quite disappointed to find that the least favourite episode came really easily to my mind. And the least favourite episode was episode 1, Dragonstone, because the episode didn't offer us anything new. It didn't offer us anything in terms of like interest. It was quite slow paced. There was a few moments obviously where we had fantastic, the initial 5 minutes, the pre-credit sequence was the best scene in the episode, which is quite sad considering that was 5 minutes in, and for the rest of the hour it was a little bit like, oh, we could do without a lot of this stuff. And that's disappointing given that we'd waited a whole year for it. And you don't want to be saying that about Game of Thrones, that you're disappointed with an episode, because Game of Thrones isn't a disappointing programme. I think if I watched season 6 and then went straight to season 7, I wouldn't be disappointed with it. But because we'd waited a year, I was expecting, then obviously the momentum of season 6 had been fantastic. It ended on such a high momentum, and then we went from like up here to sort of down here. And it hadn't dropped down to like season 1 level momentum, but it had dropped quite significantly, and I thought that was really disappointing to see that happen to my favourite show. Was that the momentum just dropped, and I was really disappointed in that. So now we get a bit more of a happier note. We talk about my favourite episode of the season, and we must remember, people, I should have said at the beginning, can you just remember also, if you're watching this, that these are my personal opinions. These are my decisions of what I thought was the favourite episode, favourite events, least favourite episode, so don't roast me for it. If you've got a different opinion, put it in the comments. Let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what some of you thought, with your favourite events, your favourite episode, whatever. It'd be great. So yeah, now we're talking about my favourite episode. So my favourite episode of this season was episode 6, Beyond the Wall, because it kept me on edge throughout. It made me fear for some of my favourite characters in the form of Jon, Daenerys, Tormund Giantsbane, the Hound, Davos. Davos wasn't even north of the wall, but it was just, the whole thing just was really tense and it kept me on edge. and it held my attention for the full 70 minutes. You know, there's not many programs that would be able to do a 70-minute episode, and I didn't tune out once, and I was constantly like this. I was on the edge of my seat, like looking forward. I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? And it set up the finale excellently. Really, I was just so pumped for the finale episode, and I had to wait another week for the finale episode over it, like past everyone else, because I was in Tenerife, and I was like, I just need to watch the finale. I need to watch the finale. Because episode 6 did such a fantastic job, and actually because it's only 7 episodes this season, episode 6 of season 7 is practically our episode 9 of the other seasons, which is why it was so good probably. But it set up everything beautifully, so I was just blown away by it. Now we come to my overall conclusion for season 7, and it's sort of a little bit of a weird one. As in, it was slower and less exciting than last season overall, I thought, but some moments such as the 3 major battles that we had on screen, you know, the Battle of the Silence, the Battle Beyond the Wall, and the Battle on the Rose Road, were excellent and helped to make the season great. It was by no means a bad season, it just had a few moments that weren't quite as good as we've come to expect from Game of Thrones. But it was still fantastic in the way that it set up everything for Season 8, and I think Season 8 is going to be brilliant, and I cannot wait for that, but we've got to wait like another year and a half for Season 8, but I think it's going to be fantastic still. So because of all of that, my overall rating for this season is a 9 out of 10, as opposed to last year's, which was a 9.5 out of 10. Because of its shorter length and some scenes that seem to drag, I have to give it a 9 out of 10. Of course, no season will ever be perfect, but last season came closer to it than this one, if that makes sense. I think I definitely preferred last year's season 6, but season 7 is by no way terrible. I absolutely love this season, but it just felt to me there was something missing that I was expecting it to show me, and it just didn't. But, you know, I mean, we can't have everything. You know, we can't have perfect television, because otherwise we'd have nothing to criticise, and we'd have nothing to review, because we'd all go, oh yeah, it's perfect. We need something to criticise. Anyway, that's enough about criticism. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. That is the end of this series of reviews. I'm going to do one more series for Game of Thrones, which will be my Season 8 reviews, which will be whenever it airs. Yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this series. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe down below as well to my channel, so that you can wait in anticipation of Season 8 with me. Tell me what you think. Maybe give me some predictions of what you think is going to happen in Season 8. I'd love to know what some of you guys thought. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I will hopefully see you all very soon. Goodbye!